If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flatstick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flatstick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flatstick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flatstick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. All right, here it is. It's the second week of the Old Crimson podcast, all brought to you by Flatstick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 amazing locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered for date night, guys night, ladies night, and large group events. Let me tell you, it's the spot to go for large group events. You got a fantasy football draft? You haven't done one yet? Well, you're running out of time. I'm telling you, Flatstick Pub is the spot for you. Your business, you want to take your workers out, Flatstick Pub. You just want to get together with your family and friends. Flatstick Pub is a great spot for large group events. Go visit flatstickpub.com. And it's great for the kids there as well. And it's a great place to celebrate and watch the Cougs. Joining me every week on the Old Crimson podcast, Paul Sorensen, All-American safety at Washington State. You can follow him on social media, Paul Sorensen 28. And, of course, Jim Moore, legendary Coug. One day will be inducted in the Murrow Hall of Fame as an expert drinker and gambler, and you can follow him at Cougs Go. Well, let's just do that. Let's start off with this, because there's a lot to cover here. I just want opening statements from both of you. Don't go filibuster on me on the reaction of watching that game against Idaho and then the aftermath of the Vandals of victory. Paul Sorensen, I start with you first, and you can go ahead, Go-To.
I'll let Go-To go first. I'll defer to the elder statesman of the crew. How's that?
Oh, okay. Hey, man, your hair's getting as white as mine, I have to say that. You might want to try wearing a hat a little more often than you do.
I like showing off my dome, unlike covering up your knotted head there, so go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm having a hard time after that game watching it. I got a call from one of my kids after the first drive saying, "Season's over, Dad." And I kind of got it. I kind of didn't like, well, there's no kind of about it. I didn't like what I saw Saturday night. And I know that there's a lot of Cougs that are going, hey, and Paul's going to be one of them. One game, settle down, don't jump off the cliff. But based on those 60 minutes that we watched, not impressed. I didn't like much of anything. And we talked about how great our defense was that night. Was it really? I mean, I know they held them to 10 points, but 188 yards on the ground for Idaho. I didn't get any of it. And hopefully, Paul, you can get me off the cliff before I jump, because I have a feeling you're going to say, hey, it's just one game, Jimmy Rogers' debut, a bunch of different things like that. And I'm going to try and take it all in and say, yeah, you're right, Paul. Maybe I should just settle down. But I thought it was a horseshit effort by our squad that night.
Well, that's your opinion, and that's fair. And
Well, here we go.
I've been watching Cougar football longer than you, Paul.
Yeah,
50 years for me,
you don't know
okay?
shit about it,
and that was one of
okay.
our worst games. That was one of our worst games.
When you look at the flip of the
Okay,
roster,
good. I want to hear
there's
this.
75 new players on that team, a brand new coaching staff.
How many did Idaho have?
Can I have? Is it my turn? Did I interrupt you once? Sit there and sip it, Skippy.
Sorry, it's usually you interrupting.
You talk about jumping off the cliff, I'll push your ass off the cliff, okay? It's my turn now,
Please
pal.
do.
Hey,
Thank you.
220,
So
man. You
here's
better
the
be.
deal.
You still got enough strength?
I'm 250, so I can launch your ass a long way off that thing. We're gonna have no problem doing that, especially with a running start. So here's the deal. 75 new guys. Now, I completely agree. Now, there was some rumor beforehand that Jaxon Potter was going to start. Here's a couple of things. I swore that Zevi was going to start just based on what he did on the Holiday Bowl. Idaho thought that Zevi was going to start too. So they prepared that game plan, and they did a really, really good job of stopping the run because they didn't think that he was going to be a guy that was going to run the football. So they practiced in the spring, all of fall camp. They had they had a guy named Cole Dennison who used to play at the University of Washington. He was their defensive coordinator. They kind of had an inverted air raid defense where they had 8 guys kind of within 5 to 6 yards of the line of scrimmage to stop the run. Because that's what South Dakota State was known for in their offense, was their running offense, their RPO offense. Collisioning the guys at the line of scrimmage. As soon as they saw the quarterback, 3-4 yards off the line in the shotgun with the running back off the side, they were shooting the gap. They made Washington State look terrible on the run. They stuffed the run on the defensive side. Porter ends up starting, little different guy at 6'5", some things his first start, threw the ball, had a 72% completion percentage, did a nice job. I think he was 24, 33, 209 with a touchdown, no turnovers, did a nice job through the air. We sucked running the ball, okay? So I can see where you would be grumpy on that because that was an ugly game to watch. But here's the deal, they got a W. As ugly as you want to say, Leach lost his first game against BYU, and I think they scored a touchdown. That was the vaunted air raid that came in and laid an egg down in Provo. And there were a lot of teams. I think Doba won his first game, and I think Price won their first game. There's a lot of teams that came out and didn't play very well. So I'm going to give credit to Idaho with a scheme that came in and made that rushing attack look very rudimentary from that perspective. 3 weeks from now, no one's going to give a flying F that Washington State barely beat Idaho, who's a top 10 team at the FCS level. Ask Army how they felt when they got beat by a mid-level FCS team in double overtime. All it is, it's not by how much, Jim, it's how many at the end of the season. You don't think if we could have beaten Wyoming or Oregon State or New Mexico, who went right down the field at the end of the game by 3 points, we'd have been happy? A win's a win, period. All the other stuff doesn't matter. It's hard to win, especially when you flip a roster with 75 guys. So, was it ugly?
Paul,
yes,
are you done yet?
Absolutely. It was ugly.
Okay.
I'm done
There's
now.
just
I'm
one
just
thing
saying that there was a lot of different things that came into play. Idaho gets credit. They're better than what I thought they were. Washington State is a work in progress. First game of the season, last game of the season. I'm not going to throw them under the bus just yet. Your turn.
Okay. Well, I will for that game anyway. I just, and I love the Cougs as much as you do, but we were told all offseason about this running game that we were going to have. So Idaho knew about it. We knew about it. Everybody knew about it. And so you're supposed to impose your will when you say shit like that. And to not be able to do it against Idaho, I don't care if Idaho game planned for that, Paul.
Who won?
That's what we were told that we were going to do. We were going to run the damn ball.
Who won the game?
Well, I know you and Ryan Leaf and people like that are all saying that. I know that. I know we won the game.
That's
but
all that
where was that running offense? Where were the two tight ends? Where was the fullback?
Time out. You guys can listen. We can't do this show if you're just going to talk over each other.
Who won the game?
Honestly, it's awful.
Well, I was talking louder because I was making better points.
No, you weren't. Your points suck.
If people are going to turn it off if you keep talking over each other.
My point's simple. Who won the game?
Hold on.
That's all I care about.
I know, Paul, but listen, now hear me out.
Okay.
Because I agree with both of you, but I think that sometimes I get a little frustrated with fans when they do this. You're just going to bury your head in the sand and say, "Well, we won." So there's nothing to worry about. They got 3 yards against an FCS team.
There's plenty to worry about. I agree with that. Yes.
And I'm not now to Jim's point. He's given up on the season already. I've not given up on the season.
Oh, I haven't.
You said that in the beginning. You've given up on the season
like
your kid. All right. I'm not giving up on the season, and I still like what Jimmy Rogers is going to do. I would just say this. My opening statement would be, I knew there were going to be growing pains with this team, especially offensively. I didn't think we would see it defensively just because they're more of a defensive-minded coaching staff. I had great concerns, even though I wanted and I was intrigued by this new look offense because of the offensive line we had. I mean, we're returning. The majority of them were on the roster who are playing, and they're an air raid system. Listen, they did well. If you look at all the grades, they did well in pass blocking. They gave them time to throw, but when it came to running, they were out-physicaled by Idaho. I mean, it wasn't just blown assignments. It was their guys were getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And I think where it raises the red flag for me is that if you're going to play that style, again, I thought they'd take their lumps, but I thought they'd be maybe around 100 yards rushing. And then it didn't look great. Not 3. And really, it was generous that they got 3. I mean, they didn't have really anything that was positive. And I think that sounded the alarm to me because San Diego State's really good up front. I know Washington didn't look good in the week 1. Ole Miss, I mean, it's an SEC team. I mean, my God.
That's a different
guys
beast.
are 300 pounds and all that.
Yeah, that's a completely different animal.
And I would say this, too, that I was a little taken aback with Jimmy Rogers. A couple other things. One, I thought they were sloppy. Procedural penalties. I thought special teams was a disaster minus the kicker. I mean, a disaster. I mean, I'd like to know who the special teams coach is who would tell their punt returner to go field a punt at the 2-yard line.
They had 2 of them inside the 7. I think they had a 7 and a 2.
And I just think, I'll say this too. I think, Paul, and you played, we didn't. I think there's a fine line of teaching players aggressiveness, shit talking, getting in people's face, and crossing the line. And I thought the antics after the game, Tucker Large in particular, I understand it, but you barely beat an FCS team. I would go over there across the field. I would shake their hand. I'd go to the locker room. I wouldn't be talking shit to the Idaho Vandals. That's just me. And I think those were my observations. I thought the defense looked good. I thought Jaxon Potter looked good. I was surprised as anyone that Jaxon Potter was named the starter. Now, I kind of had a feeling about, and that's why we brought it up with you a week before, because I just, knowing, I don't want to give away too much because behind the scenes stuff, but I just had a feeling that once I had heard something that Zevi, I just got a feeling Zevi wasn't going to be the guy. Now, I assumed it was going to be the Duggar kid and not Jaxon Potter because he's more mobile, but I thought he looked good. I thought Jaxon Potter made some nice plays, and it was a nice last
and here's
drive.
what went into the decision.
I think there were some red flags from the game.
Well, here's what went into the decision on Potter in fall camp. Basically, they were grading all 4 of those guys. All 4 of those guys had opportunities, to run with the ones. And over the course of spring ball and the summer, basically Potter, he had the best numbers in terms of the long ball. He didn't turn the ball over, the way that some of the other guys did. He was able to run the offense, and he was the best in the 2-minute drill. And when it came down to the end of the game, with the game on the line, even though they pulled him out of there and they put Duggar in there in a couple of series and he went 3 and out, they put Potter back in there and he took him right down the field to get him in a position to kick the field goal, as ugly as that was, from that perspective, to win the football game. And let's give the kicker, Stevens, the transfer from South Dakota State, kudos, because 1, he kicks the first field goal. Give Idaho credit, gamesmanship, call the timeout, make him kick it again. We had a game 2 years ago at Idaho State, same exact thing. Eastern Washington kicker kicks the field goal. The Idaho State coach calls a timeout. Kicker comes back out there, kicks it again. He misses it. They lose the game. Okay? That kid stood right there, did it, won the game. They win 13-10. Ugly, fine. Washington State's 1-0, Idaho's 0-1. Okay, but Potter won the game in fall camp, and Zevi was the first guy when he was named the starter to come up and congratulate him, tell him to hang in there, complete class act, by him. I thought he was going to start based on his body of work, on the Holiday Bowl thing. They kept the decision quiet. And give them a lot of credit. Nothing leaked out of there. And if I'm not finding out about it, that's pretty impressive. And I give them a lot of kudos on that front for keeping it quiet.
And I know where Jim's going to go with this, and I'm going to steal it from Jim, but I'm going to let Jim respond to it. And another, I guess, mild critique of Jimmy Rogers would be this. And he's not the first, and he won't be the last. I don't understand this gamesmanship before a game. I think it's embarrassing. If you have a starting quarterback, name him the starting quarterback. If you've got a starting tackle or running back, name him. You're playing Idaho, for God's sakes. Why are we doing gamesmanship? I don't care if they were opening up with Ole Miss. Tell Ole Miss, Jaxon Potter's our starter. He earned it in camp. We believe in him. Rather than this, I don't know who the guy is going to be. And then he did the interview with Chris King an hour before the game. He didn't even tell Chris King who the starter was. I mean, I think, to me, I think it's amateur to do that stuff. That's just me. And I think, Jim, you would probably agree with that, right?
Well, I do agree with it. I like the idea. If I was ever a coach, I'd say, okay, here are my starters, and you guys know the strengths and weaknesses of these guys based on the tape you have on them or what you're hearing out of camp, and we're going to kick your ass with them. Okay, we're not going to worry about what you think about. Oh my God, they're going with Potter instead of Zevi or Duggar or whatever, this is how we're going to line up, and we're going to beat your ass with these guys, okay? So no big deal there. The positive thing I will say is that we were all surprised about Potter. Well, if he was good enough to beat out Zevi, who I think we all agreed that he played well against Syracuse in the Holiday Bowl, so we just assumed that he was going to be the guy. Well, if he played well enough in camp, Potter, to take over and beat out Zevi, then that's a good sign. And Zevi's a third stringer now. Duggar's the second stringer. And to Rogers' credit, at least he got rid of all the oars this week. The depth chart for San Diego State doesn't have any oars, so at least he listened, and he probably even had his wife saying, honey, that was kind of fucking stupid what you did there. So why don't you clean that up a little bit? So he did that. But, I'm still surprised, though, and I think Zevi, to your point, Paul, class act, doing all the right things, but I bet you behind the scenes he's livid and wonder what in the hell he's doing here at Washington State right
livid.
now.
No.
How do you know that, Paul?
Competition. Because I actually know the team, Jim. Okay, I actually understand the team dynamics.
That sounds like you're mocking me. It sounds like you're being condescending there,
Jim. I am mocking you. I actually do some deep diving and talk to people that talk to the things that go on behind the scenes. So yeah, I know the team, and he's a class act, and he understands it. You get beat out, okay? Things happen. People come in and have a better camp. I've experienced that when I got beat out when I went to the pros and I saw the level of competition and I played my ass off, but I wasn't good enough. And I saw what happened on that front, and you do the best that you can when you're there, and then you realize that you're not the guy. And it's okay. It happens, and it is what it is. But he's still a first-class human, and he's still fighting because there's injuries that come into play. There's circumstances where somebody goes down and then you step up, and then you're going to get your opportunity. You never know when that's going to be, and that's one thing about Rogers. He's going to go with a hot hand guy. If Duggar would have been the guy, could have taken him down the field because he would have been able to run the ball, which they couldn't. But had he been able to, he would have replaced Potter. He would have been the guy. They're going to go with the guy with a hot hand. That's what they're going to do. That's how they roll. Period.
Well, I would say this and that was another curious decision. And
yeah, I know.
And I felt desperate, especially it was right after a turnover. They're there, and then you insert him, and it's like he didn't look good. Like he looked uncomfortable back there.
And I know it was a turnover. It led to a turnover.
Right, it was limited. It was a limited amount of, limited series, but it just didn't. I don't know. If you make a decision to go with a guy, go with a guy, and then let it roll. And I just don't think at that point Potter was the problem. No, Jaxon Potter wasn't the issue. The issue was that offensive line couldn't do anything, couldn't move anyone around. So.
But the flip side of that, Puck, is that if Duggar had come in and been gangbusters, then we would have been giving him all kinds of credit. So at least he was trying to change up there, and clearly it didn't work. Yeah. But if it had, we would have been like, God, he should have brought Duggar in earlier.
But it's amazing that you have you're right. Hindsight, it's easy, and we can praise him and then kill him. But it's amazing. Zevi Eckhouse, who we all thought was going to be the starter, and we've all kind of said this. He went Holiday Bowl. I mean, he's prominently featured by the collective and all this. He's not even the backup, the third string quarterback. And I would just say this, Paul. I agree with what you said about he's a class act and he's a great teammate and all that. But I am going to side here with Jim a little bit. Deep down inside, he has got to be, and I don't think he'd ever would express it, but I think deep down inside, he's got to be like, what the F?
Like, there's disappointment. And there's nobody. I love Zevi. I do. I mean, I've got to know him, and there's nobody that feels worse than than me for him, because I fully expected him to be the guy this year. But things happen. It is what it is. How about the dude at Oklahoma that was expecting to start, and all of a sudden some John Mateer guy comes in from the boonies and replaces you? It happens all over the country. Go ahead.
Can we get him? Can we get him back? He only threw
He
for
beat
400
he
yards.
beat an FCS team. Whoopie flippin' do. Big deal, and they won.
Well,
hey, how about Wake Forest, Jake Forest? They won 10-9 in a baseball
wait a minute.
struggle.
We barely beat a whoopie-doo FCS team.
Well, so did Wake Forest. They won by 1. Yeah. At least WSU won by 3.
That's what, Paul, that's what bothered me the most, and I suppose I'm a half-empty, negative Coug, whatever. But I had that feeling Saturday night. Again, I know that you're not going to like what I have to say here, and it's going to be a defeatist comment. But I just felt like the best days of Cougar football are behind us, and that we need to accept this so-called new normal. And it just felt like, God, here we are at a lower level, and I don't know if it's ever going to be the good old days like they were back then.
Well, Jim, I can't argue with what you just said, but we lost 75 guys. We have no conference. We got blown up 2 years ago. We have we've gone through coaches like Charmin Tissue. It is a new normal. And we are starting over. We're developing a brand new conference next year. It's unprecedented in Washington State University history that this program has gone through what it's gone through the last 3 years. Okay? So, yeah. It is unprecedented. It's hard on the fans. It's hard on the coaches and the players. Hell, it's hard on us, old guys. I love hearkening back to USC and Washington when they come in at the end of the season and playing Cal and Stanford and all the other guys. We know who the teams were, and now we're having to try to figure out who are these Fresno State guys and Colorado State guys and Utah State guys. They're going to be conference opponents. So it is the new normal. And it's frustrating because us old dudes remember the old conference, and they're not our old conference guys anymore. So there's a reason to be frustrating. So I can relate to where you're coming from. I don't like it, but what are we going to do about it? Sit here and yell at each other? I guess that's what we're doing. So, I'm gonna tip of the hat. I appreciate where you're coming from, but I'm going to be positive and walk out of this thing. I'm glad we were sucky, but I'm glad we won. And let's focus now on San Diego State and see if we can get another 3-point win, and then just keep winning our way 3-point wise until the end of the season and see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. Just keep 3-point winning, and then people talk about how crappy our team is, and all of a sudden you're 10-0.
Well, Paul, did you sound like this in 2008 when we went 1-11?
No, I was swearing a lot more then, I think. That was not a good team, by the way. I'll also harken back to another game when I don't know if you remember this one. Mark Fields returned a fumble. I think it was 94 yards against Illinois. It was the only touchdown in that game, and they beat Illinois 10-9. Remember that game? Yeah. And remember how bad Chad DeGrenier was the quarterback on that team? I think that was the Blues Posse. I think they won 9 games that year, and that may have been
Chad
one
Davis?
of the most. Chad Davis. That's right. They were one of the most awful offenses.
We would have won the national championship with a good quarterback that year.
Exactly. So there have been teams that have had good defenses, and if they had any kind of offense, can you imagine what that would have been? So,
and I just want to articulate this about Jimmy Rogers. I really, really like him. I like how stoic he is. I like his approach to football. I like the way he conducts everything. There's a lot to like. I'm just saying that I think week 1, it just didn't, he didn't fail because they won. It just was. I was talking to Canzano this week, and we were talking, well, what was the word to describe it? It was just lackluster to me.
It was.
I expected a little bit more, especially up front, a little bit more physicality. I liked what the defense did. I mean, to Jim's point, did they rush for 100 and whatever it was? Yeah, but listen, they kept them out of the end zone, especially on the last turnover to hold them to a field goal, and they did a nice job defensively. I saw a lot of guys flying around, Large in particular, and again, I mean,
they missed 8 tackles, Puck. 8 tackles, and most of those were on the edge on the quarterback. Had they been able to do that, he wouldn't have had a 100-yard game. It would have been a different story on the rush, because that was the guy that kept him in the ball game with those scrambles, basically. So
yeah, and then the redshirt freshman quarterback, or the linebacker, he was terrific. So there was a lot to like. And again, I remember the Mike Leach game. I remember how much hype there was. Certainly a lot more hype than this when Mike Leach took over. And I remember when they went down to Provo, and it was awful. But they didn't do anything, and you're like, what the hell is this? And And obviously that worked out well, and I think that Jimmy Rogers will work out.
But
I'm not
remember,
saying that.
Puck,
I
they
just
had
think it's
to
a different
transition.
mentality.
Yeah, they had to transition the air raid.
Yes, but I would count. I think it's different. I would counter with this. Yes, they have 75 new players. The majority of them are his players. South Dakota State. They're all majority are his guys.
And
so it's not like they're learning
up.
a brand new system.
Right.
So,
and they're transitioning up. They're going from FCS, even though it's Division I, they're going to FBS. Different transition. Now they played an FCS team, but a good one. You got a semifinal team that lost to North Dakota State that won the national championship, last year. You got an Idaho team that made it to the quarterfinals before they got beat by, I think it was South Dakota State, or maybe it was South Dakota. I don't remember who it was. But anyway, good teams. These are teams that they're playing in the postseason. So there you go. Now they're going to get a chance to step up and play a San Diego State team that's trying to, kind of turn themselves around and play better because they had a stinky season last year under, a first-year coach who's in their second year, went out and got a ton of Power 4 transfers, including a Michigan quarterback. So it's just going to be a good step up for them. And again, transitioning from first game to second game, you see big improvement going from first game to second game. Let's hope, because that offense needs to see some big improvement going from game one to game two.
Jim and I have some advice for you, and I don't know if you've ever dipped your toes into the gambling waters, but if you'd like to make some extra money this year, Jim and I have every game bet the under, and it's 44.5 this weekend.
Back in the old days, we used to bet the over on the Cougs because they were always undersold. So what you're saying this year is bet the under because they're oversold? Is that what you're saying?
No,
we're saying that they're kind of shitty offensively. And they appear to be decent defensively. It's just like with the Mariners when Puck had that last year, talking about bet the under on the M's all summer. Yeah. Good pitching, good defense, no hitting.
Yeah.
So
exactly right. Jim and I are going to make a lot of money. If you'd like to jump on, you can, because we're going to make a lot of money this year.
I'll just go out to
I have a bunch of random
game.
points in between the time I was trying to get my wife to quiet my dog down.
Getting yelled at, from the stands than losing the shekels, knowing that an 18-year-old's got my money in his hands. I don't like that. That scares me.
What we're going to work on next week is one of you talks, and then the other one talks.
Yeah, well.
Well, I talked, and then I got angry. And I apologize to Jim because I respect GoTo. And I do appreciate your opinion. I do, because, the one thing No, I do. I just don't like it. I just appreciate it. And then I'm going to yell at you because that's what I do. I'm a lasher, and I apologize. I love you, but I will yell at you, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry.
Well, I just want you to know, in future Old Crimson podcasts, I'm going to defer to you because you know more about the team than I do. I mean, you said as much. So, plus you played the game and I didn't. So I'm just going to sit back here
for a long time.
I'm going to sit back here and listen to my dog bark and wonder why my wife isn't stopping our dog from barking. I mean, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I'm trying to do a podcast here.
I thought you had a
hell? I mean, it's like, is there any common courtesy even with the woman I live with? Jesus, what the hell?
Let me.
I'll just let River bark while Jim's doing this podcast because it doesn't really matter apparently. I don't get that. But, okay, can I just make a couple of random points here that I have been sitting on that might not make a whole lot of sense? I'm going to give Potter all kinds of credit, just like you guys have. So that's not breaking news. But here's a kid. Can you imagine Jaxon Potter going out there? And we have been watching Cam Ward and John Mateer. And now this kid has to follow those two guys. Cam Ward, the number one pick overall. John Mateer is going to play in the NFL, likely too. And we love Mateer and what he did last year. God, he was sensational. And now Potter has to come in under these circumstances in a new system with a new coach. So terrific for him. Mm-hmm. The negative I want to point out, though, Paul, is that this Idaho team, again, I'll go one more time on this Idaho team. I looked up Thomas Ford's head coaching record. 2-18 at Simon Fraser. And he outcoached our guy, didn't he? He outcoached our guy. So hopefully things change. And, again, you played the game, and so you know what it's like in game 2 versus game 1. And so I'm hoping we see a totally different Cougar. But who are we going to run the ball against? That's what he's selling himself on. That's his calling card. We ran the ball at South Dakota State. We're going to run at Washington State. Well, maybe not. God, your silence. What, Paul? Did I make a good point?
His head is about to explode. He's getting so angry.
Remember I said that I apologize for yelling at you? I'm trying not to yell at you. He's also 0-1 in his debut at Idaho. He lost. They lost the football game. The quarterback threw for 33 yards on 12 completions, okay? And the quarterback was the leading rusher of their team, period. They lost.
If I'm doing an Idaho podcast right now, I'm wondering what in the hell they were doing getting so conservative after they recovered that fumble. They could have taken a 14-10 lead, and I think that would have been insurmountable for us to get a touchdown.
I agree. But give Potter credit because that was one of the things that he won the job on. He was the best quarterback in the 2-minute drill all fall and spring. That was his strength.
Isn't it a little bit more concerning, Paul, that they only threw for 33 yards and were only lost by 3?
No, that just says that they were afraid of our defense and our DBs were good, and we intimidated the hell out of them from the power 4 position that we were at.
Plus, I like that Potter's good in the 2-minute drill. But
he was good.
I was kind of hoping that with this running,
and the only incompletion was when he spiked the ball. So there you go. He was
I'm going to tell you this right now.
That he made,
you're going to see them pass a lot more on Saturday.
Well, look at the field position they had too, Puck. They were really conservative in a couple areas because their field position was god awful. Yeah. And that goes back to bad special teams play, as you pointed out. And the defense played well. Awful. When you rely on your defense, you can be a little bit more conservative. That was a stinker on offense, no question. And you guys have nailed it on that front. Massive improvement needs to be shown this week.
Sure.
Or we can start raising the red hanky and start saying, guys, this is not acceptable. So I'm not at that point yet.
Jim,
the point I was trying to make before you interrupted me again, the 2-minute drill stuff with Potter, I love that. Okay, fine. That's what won him the job. But what I was hoping for with the new running game that we were supposed to have is that we'd be running out the clock with 2 minutes to go and getting first downs and moving the chains. That was the whole idea, I think, a part of it.
An unfortunate fumble, though, led to a field goal that allowed them to tie it up, or they would have run the game because they would have gotten another 3 yards and then punted the ball, and then our defense would have stopped them. So that's what we'd have done.
They can always get better on the ground, Jim. Don't be like your kids who've already given up on the season.
Yeah, quit throwing your kids under the bus in your article. Why are you doing that? Don't throw your kids under the bus like that. That was mean.
Oh, my kid?
Yeah, what? You put them in the article and you made them fodder for those poor
God,
fans. They're out there yelling at your kids.
He was just he just was beside himself. Season's over, and then he was giving me a hard time for going to Washington State and how they grew up being Cougs and why didn't you go to a better school? And I'm like, well, come on, Mikey. Yeah.
Well, Mikey may have had a couple of too many beverages. That sounds like depression to me.
Did he get now? It was weird. Is he allowed back in the stadium or not?
Oh, he's going to be at San Diego State. He'll be there.
Well, you made it seem like he was banned from the stadium.
No,
he wasn't banned from the stadium. They
left. Didn't you kind of get that text?
They left at halftime.
Yeah, I thought he got 86.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Your text was like he got banned from the stadium.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get banned.
You wanted me to read you the text?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we need to read that text.
Yeah.
Read that text.
He left the stadium like a lot of other students. And I think unlike other students who were upset that we don't have beer sales yet, which is a joke, how we couldn't figure that out before the season started. But no, he and Stevie were disappointed in our level of play.
Okay. Well, that's different than being banned from the stadium, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't banned from the stadium.
Oh, I thought I read it. He was banned from the stadium.
Guys,
I think it's okay to be. I think it's okay to be upset how they played. I disagree with what. I mean, Jim wrote the counter art. I mean, my God, why don't you and Leaf just write the Gus columns together at Cougs Fan? I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I disagree with what Ryan said, and I side more with Jim. I don't think it makes you a bad fan to say you were disappointed on how they played.
We all
I think
were.
it makes you a fan. And so I take a little issue when I have people who sit there and, point their fingers like, if you don't 100% fully support everything that's going on over there and put on the crimson colored glasses and don't acknowledge that they didn't play well, that you're somehow a bad fan. Do you know who the first person who called their performance embarrassing was?
Jimmy
I heard
Rogers.
you talk about it, Puck. It was Jimmy Rogers.
The head coach of
Jimmy
the
Rogers
team said, looked at the stats and goes, this was embarrassing. So that's the head coach, Ryan Leaf, who called it embarrassing.
You know what was embarrassing, Puck? They ran out of hot dogs in the second quarter. That's embarrassing. Sorry.
And here's the thing, too. Anyone that's
Really?
been to Martin Stadium, and by the way, it's time. I mean, listen, Jim wants it called Martin Stadium because Geisa Field. I don't want to call it Martin Stadium ever again because of that association with Washington.
Who's
it should
the
be
former
Gleason
Husky?
Field.
Yeah.
It should be Gleason Field. We should get to that at some point during the podcast. It should be renamed after Steve Gleason, who, by the way, I'm reading his book right now. Pick it up. It's
That's
just,
awesome. Great book.
You want to read the book and then go and say to yourself, well, I haven't done anything in my life. Because this guy,
He's
it's just unbelievable
Yeah.
what he has done in his life. Anyways, those hot dogs there, best hot dogs ever.
That's why they
There's
ran
not
out
a
in the
better
second quarter. Everybody
not a
wanted
better
a
hot
hot
dog.
dog.
There's a better dog at Costco. Come on.
No, I'm telling you, not a better dog than
Well,
that
they have a
one at
Costco in
Martin
Pullman.
Stadium.
Maybe they can buy a few of them, and so they can have them into the third quarter. How about that?
All right, so Jim, how do we feel about the Aztecs of San Diego State?
Well, they're picked 8th in the Mountain West.
Okay.
And so we're 1.5 point favorites. I'm not going to lay the. I don't think I'm betting with both hands on the Cougs.
Going under. Take the
Yeah,
under.
I have no idea. No idea what to make of this game.
It's hard.
I'm with Paul, thinking we're going to see a completely different Cougar team.
Sure.
But I'm also thinking that possibly we won't. So
Paul,
I don't know. I didn't see anything that was all that encouraging to make me believe that things are going to be that much different 7 days later. But we'll see.
Teams can always improve at week 1 to week 2. Paul, what do you want to see specifically?
I want to see, obviously, an improved running game, but I think they're going to be. San Diego State has had a problem stopping quarterbacks that can run. Remember New Mexico, that QB? He ran for over 200 yards against them last year.
Yeah, he was a
They
stud.
traditionally had a really hard time against a dual threat quarterback. So, could you see Duggar play? Potentially, or Rogers maybe run a little bit RPO stuff, some things along those lines. And then when they give up an RPO, when they give up a running quarterback, then that opens up the passing lane. So they've got to be able to run the football on Saturday, whether that's handing the damn ball off and actually blocking somebody up front or using the QB on that deal. They traditionally have not done a good job defending that. But you got a kid named, I think Trey White was named Defensive Player of the Year preseason in the Mountain West. And they also have a guy named Leah Tule, who's a first-team All-Mountain West guy at linebacker. They've got some pretty good front people. They've got a few more people back on defense than they do on offense. They got a transfer from Michigan at quarterback. They got a wide receiver that's really good that caught 6 balls in their win over some goofy team. I think it's
Stony Brook.
Stony Brook, there you go. They were skipping stones and they beat Stony Brook. And so this will be a little bit, it's a lot like, Idaho team was a hell of a lot better than Stony Brook because they're actually ranked and they're a top 10 team at that level.
Okay.
So I need to see them run the ball and I need to see them, compete up front because they're going to have a tougher test against San Diego State's front seven.
I got to ask you one more quick thing, non-football related. Try to be brief, but it's unfortunate I'm asking you to be brief on this one. Jim, I'll start with you because this was right in your wheelhouse. Give me a thought. Give me a minute on George Raveling. Passing.
Oh, God, a minute on George Raveling?
Wow.
Okay, real quick. I was in school when he was our coach, and he was part of the reason that all of us went to every single game on Gannon, too. I mean, we were just looking forward to the Cougs playing, and Steve Podakis, Marty Jovacchini, all these guys, Kenny Jones. And it was just so much fun to go to the games, especially seeing our coach and how into it he was. He was the biggest cheerleader ever, a hell of a coach. It's just, I was really saddened to hear about his passing yesterday. And but boy, did he make his mark on Cougar basketball. George Raveling back in the 70s, he was sensational.
Paul?
I was one of the few guys he'd call up when he needed beer. We'd go down to Dismore's and pick beer up and bring it up to Beasley. When he was playing poker, I remember bringing some stuff down there as Bill Cosby and some of the different people that he would play with. Along those lines, he'd take his coat off and, swing it, and the crowd would stand up and go nuts. He still had the original speech from Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. He was a bodyguard at the time. He was one of a kind. It was one of the all-time greats, and we were blessed to be a part of his life. And if you ever had a chance to come across him, you are a better person for it.
Well said. There it is, another edition of the Old Crimson Podcast. We'll be back next week. Paul, it might just be you and me. Jim has already decided, hey, 2 weeks in, I've got to take a break and can't.
Well, Paul hurt my
do it.
feelings today.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim.
He's got already.
Oh.
He's already got to take a break.
Come on,
from
man.
us. So it's just going to be me and you next week.
You
So we'll be
snowflake.
back next week. We'll talk about the San
free
Diego
golf
State
ball.
game. Yeah.
Okay.
The Old Crimson Podcast. Find it wherever you get your podcast. Of course, part of the Daily Puck Drop as well. New episodes coming out Wednesday on all Puck Sports platforms. All brought to you by Flatstick Pub. Please go visit flatstickpub.com and book large group events. They want you. They need you. NFL parties, college football parties, birthday parties. Go visit flatstickpub.com. We'll see you next week. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Puck. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.